One day earlier, Carla and her best friend Lucy arrived at a vacation villa on the island, filled with excitement and anticipation for their holiday. They eagerly took in everything around them, completely unaware of the danger that was about to descend. At the same time, on the other side of the island, a sinister deal was quietly underway. A scar-faced crime boss named Andres was assigning tasks to his men. They had 3 days to gather 10 girls, load them into a specially modified container, and deliver them to an overseas cargo ship. With a single command from Andres, his subordinates spread out in force. A hunt targeting young women officially began. On the beach, Carla and Lucy were still enjoying their carefree vacation. Without realizing it, they had already become targets. A bearded man watched them greedily through binoculars. Before long, a handsome man who introduced himself as Jude approached them under the excuse of retrieving a volleyball. He was charming and humorous, warmly inviting the girls to join him for drinks at a bar. Carla remained cautious toward the stranger. In the end, the two politely declined his invitation. What they did not know was that a hunter's patience is limited. When they returned to their apartment, a pair of malicious eyes was already watching their every move from the shadows. Back inside, Carla received a call from her mother, reminding her to stay safe. Just as Carla hung up the phone and mentioned that someone was knocking at the door, danger struck. The moment she opened the door, a hand clamped tightly over her mouth. Outside, Lucy could not find Carla. Confused, she stepped inside to check. The very next second, she too fell victim. Just like that, both girls were rendered unconscious. When they woke up again, they found themselves tightly bound. They had been thrown into the back of a pickup truck speeding down a desert highway. Before long, Carla was taken to a hidden room that felt like something out of a nightmare. Inside the cages were several other girls who had also been abducted. Fear and despair were written all over their faces. 2 burly guards shoved Carla inside roughly. They quickly locked the iron gate with heavy chains. Just as Carla was sinking into despair, she saw someone familiar. Her best friend Lucy was being carried into the room by 2 men. No matter how desperately Lucy struggled, it was useless. Just like that, the 2 girls who had come to the island for vacation lost their freedom. Inside the hellish prison, the girls learned about the kidnappers' methods from newcomers. These men pretended to be wealthy elites and approached girls openly. They would invite them to meals and secretly slip something into their drinks when they went to the restroom. In secluded places, they even resorted to outright force to abduct them. One girl after another was brutally taken. They also realized that the only reason they were still alive was because, to the buyers, they were merchandise that needed to remain intact. At that moment, Jude, the handsome man from the beach, appeared outside the cage. He dropped all pretense and revealed his true nature. He told the girls they were about to embark on a journey across the sea. He handed them sleeping pills to keep them compliant during transport. As a nurse, Carla calmly analyzed the guards' weaknesses. She quietly devised a bold plan. Lucy clung to the iron bars and began flirting provocatively with the 2 guards. To avoid their boss noticing, she even suggested they turn the camera away. The 2 guards approached with leering smiles. Lucy spoke in a sweet, pleading tone, saying she was thirsty. She asked to try their beer. The guards readily agreed. After taking just 1 sip, Lucy pretended to choke. With the camera turned away, the boss upstairs urgently asked what was going on. Seizing the moment, the girls slipped the sleeping pills Jude had given them into the beer bottle. Lucy then handed the beer back. Sure enough, not long after, the guards returned to their seats. After just 1 drink, they quickly fell into a deep sleep. Now, only 1 guard remained. To lure him over, Carla instructed Lucy to strike her. She planned to create a disturbance to draw his attention. The tactic worked. The guard noticed the commotion inside the cell. He hurried over with the keys and unlocked the chains to intervene. The moment he stepped inside, a wire was looped tightly around his neck. At the same time, Andres noticed something unusual on the monitors. He immediately ordered his men to intercept. Although the girls fought back fiercely with bottles, they were forced back inside. However, because they ran quickly, 4 girls managed to escape from the basement. They sprinted toward the villa's courtyard. Before long, 2 kidnappers spotted them. After a frantic chase, Carla and her companions managed to climb over the wall and escape. The other girl slipped by accident and was pierced by a steel rod, losing her life on the spot. At the same time, another girl struck a kidnapper unconscious with a wrench. In the end, she narrowly managed to escape from the terrifying place where they had been held captive. The poor girls ran wildly across the desert. Their will to survive forced them to keep going without stopping. Their only thought was to run, and to run with everything they had. Sure enough, the girl at the very back was unfortunately intercepted by the kidnappers. Facing danger, she desperately swung the water pipe in her hands to drive them away. Nearby, Lucy and Carla watched the horrifying scene unfold, frozen in fear. Even as their companion cried out for help, the two of them did not dare rush forward. Seeing how ruthless the kidnappers were, the two girls stood there in shock. It was not until Carla shouted for her to run that Lucy finally snapped out of it. She then sprinted desperately toward the wilderness. Meanwhile, another girl was sprinting wildly through the desert. Behind her, a pickup truck was chasing her relentlessly. Fear filled the girl's eyes. Every time she looked back, she felt herself slipping closer to despair. The pickup truck finally came to a stop. The kidnapper jumped out, ready to savor the capture that seemed inevitable. Exhausted, the girl collapsed hard onto the ground. A sharp dried branch pierced her abdomen, blood instantly staining the sand red. The kidnapper walked up to her. Watching the girl struggle weakly, he coldly pulled out a walkie-talkie and reported the situation. The girl was injured and no longer useful. However, the kidnapper failed to notice something. Behind him, the girl he had already written off as worthless had fire burning in her eyes. Enduring intense pain, she quietly grabbed a stone. With the last of her strength, she slammed it toward the back of the man's head. Each strike carried all of her rage and despair. It continued until the kidnapper was struck with a blade and completely lost the ability to resist. At the same time, back at the hideout, Andrus was issuing orders to his men. He commanded them to recapture the escaped girls before nightfall. At this moment, Carla and Lucy reached an area filled with deep ravines. The terrain was complex and perfect for hiding. Using the ravines as cover, the two pursuing kidnappers quickly lost their trail. After running for a short while, Lucy and Carla became separated. At that moment, she spotted a house on a distant hillside. She immediately picked up her pace and ran toward it for help. Unexpectedly, no one answered despite her pounding on the door several times. Worried about being discovered by the pursuing kidnappers, Carla hurried around to the other side of the house to look for help. That was when she noticed a window. Carla began knocking again while calling out for help. In her panic, she picked up a stone from the ground and smashed the glass. She then climbed through the window and entered the house. She thought she had finally found temporary safety, but instead, her actions exposed her once again. When the door alarm was triggered, the waiting Andrus immediately received the alert. It turned out the house also belonged to the kidnappers. Through surveillance, Andrus saw Carla inside. After confirming her location, he ordered his men to capture her. Carla also noticed the camera mounted on the roof. Sensing danger, she quickly stood up. She grabbed a kitchen knife from the dining table to defend herself. Sure enough, before long, two criminals arrived by car. Facing danger, Carla rushed through the house, searching for a place to hide. The cunning kidnappers split up. One searched outside, while the other entered the house with a knife. Hearing the approaching footsteps, Carla barely dared to breathe. She knew that making any noise would be fatal. Carefully watching their movements, she slowly shifted her position. After managing to quietly slip out through a door, she nearly ran into the other kidnapper. Using the house as cover, the clever Carla played a dangerous game of hide-and-seek with them. She quickly sped away from the house. She planned to escape by car, only to realize there were no keys. Believing the girl had already fled, the two kidnappers got into their vehicle and rushed off to continue the chase. Carla survived through courage and quick thinking. At the same time, elsewhere, Lucy wandered blindly to an abandoned, crumbling building. Overwhelmed with anxiety, she searched frantically in every direction. She moved through the ruins, calling out for help. Just as despair set in, a disheveled drifter suddenly emerged from the shadows. His eyes were unreadable beneath his tangled hair. Lucy rushed toward him as if grasping at her last hope. She incoherently explained that she was being chased and begged to use a phone to call for help. Instead, the drifter handed her a cloudy bottle. A sharp, foul smell instantly filled her nose. It was not a drink, but the drifter's urine. The nausea and vomiting crushed Lucy's last bit of hope. She realized this man was no savior either. Summoning all her strength, she fled the revolting place. Her escape had barely continued when the shrill sound of an engine roared behind her. The two kidnappers who had lost Carla spotted Lucy instead. The unexpected discovery filled them with excitement. They jumped out of the car, shouting as they chased her. Terrified, Lucy ran desperately toward the ravines. This dangerous moment was witnessed by Carla, who had fled to the same area. Lucy did not hesitate for a second and sprinted toward the mountains. Behind her, the kidnappers pursued her like predators. Hearing their voices, Lucy sensed the danger and changed direction again. The complex terrain gave her a chance to survive. Lucy was smart. She knew the darker it was, the harder it would be to spot her. She ran while observing her pursuers. Soon, she reached a massive cave and hid inside. But the kidnappers quickly followed. Lucy held her breath, hoping the darkness would conceal her. The cave was soon lit up by flashlights. As the beams swept across the space, Lucy tried to pick up a stone to strike back but was exposed. The kidnapper lunged at her like a wild animal. The sudden struggle shattered the silence. Though Lucy fought with everything she had, her slender frame was no match for him. She was quickly pinned to the cold ground, hands locked around her neck. Rage flared in Lucy's eyes as she struggled back up. After dealing with this kidnapper, the two girls did not dare to stay. Supporting each other, they quickly fled the cave. The remaining kidnapper soon arrived, but by then his companion lay motionless on the ground. Seeing his partner in such a state, his eyes filled with fury. Like a man possessed, he charged out into the wilderness to hunt them down. He swore to destroy both girls. Carla and Lucy did not slow down for a moment. They ran until they reached another ravine-filled area. Only when exhaustion completely overwhelmed them did they hide in a concealed hollow. Lucy's chest heaved violently, every breath trembling. Meanwhile, far away, the girls' families had already formed a professional search team. They were racing against time to find them. Using data analysis, they traced Carla's last phone signal to an approximate location. A glimmer of hope slowly cut through the darkness. But the two girls began arguing over which direction to go. Lucy wanted nothing more than to escape this nightmare. Carla, however, could not stop thinking about the girls still trapped underground and insisted on going back to help. As the argument intensified, footsteps drew closer. Panicked, Lucy lost her composure. Driven by fear, she fled alone along the ravine. Realizing the danger, Carla also ran off in the opposite direction. Because of their different beliefs, the two went their separate ways. Carla soon realized she had been spotted and felt overwhelming fear. Though they were moving farther apart, fate had not fully severed the bond between them. As Lucy hesitated over where to go next, Carla was suddenly intercepted head-on by a pursuing kidnapper. He grabbed her and slammed heavy punches into her face. From a distance, Lucy heard the violent struggle and Carla's cries. She knew Carla had been captured. Remembering how Carla had risked everything to save her earlier, Lucy could not abandon her. Carla was being held by her hair, blow after blow raining down. Just as the brutal kidnapper raised a knife toward Carla on the ground, Lucy threw a stone, striking him in the head. Carla seized the moment, grabbed the fallen knife, and stabbed it into his leg. After taking down this attacker, they fled again without hesitation. As night fell, darkness swallowed the wilderness. There was no direction and no destination. Only the will to survive kept them moving. Just as despair nearly consumed them, the sound of a helicopter echoed through the sky. It was the rescue teams sent by their families. But the night was thick, and visibility was poor. The helicopter circled once, failed to spot them, and disappeared. Hope flared briefly, only to be extinguished. When bright headlights illuminated them, the exhausted girls were captured again and taken back to the evil villa. After a full day of searching, the kidnappers were battered and bruised. Excited, they prepared to report to Andres that they had found two girls. Before they could finish, Andres raised his hand and a shot ended the report instantly. His cruelty knew no limits. But Andres never expected that the girls he underestimated had hidden strength. As he approached the vehicle to drag them out, Carla suddenly sprang up and struck him with a brick, knocking him unconscious. When Andres woke up, he found himself tightly bound to a chair in the underground cell. The girls he had imprisoned surrounded him. Faced with their furious questioning, he remained arrogant and showed no remorse. He even continued to verbally insult them. What Andres did not know was that an enraged Lucy was already holding a large pair of scissors. She was ready to end everything. The girls had spared him only to hear an apology. When he refused to stop talking or apologize, Lucy finally snapped and plunged the scissors into him. Andres, who had committed countless crimes, met his end in agony. Justice had finally caught up with him. At that moment, the sound of the helicopter returned. This time, the rescue team had locked onto their location. As the girls emerged from the dark, damp basement and saw the helicopter descending, they knew they were finally safe. After surviving unimaginable danger, these brave girls welcomed the dawn of freedom. This was a battle of courage, friendship, and revenge. Through blood and bravery, they proved that even in the deepest darkness, the light of humanity and the will to resist will never be extinguished.